Hello, and welcome to Rain's Cryptids, Myths, and Folklore, Cryptid Thoughts, Lost in the Woods. I'm your host, Rain, and today we are going to talk about where a lot of these cryptids like to live, and even some that wander out of their usual places. Please like and subscribe, share as well. So let's get started. Cryptids are something that can intrigue or frighten us, but at the same time, so can being in the forests, deserts, or swamps, and any other beautiful land not inhabited by us humans as permanent residents. A lot of these beautiful places happen to be in national parks, preserves, reserves, national forests, refuge, and reservoirs. Cryptids are spotted in these parks, forests, and many other beautiful landscapes like Bigfoot, the most obvious. Then there's werewolf, wendigos, skinwalkers, and so many more. Some are just trying to mind their own business, and some seek to terrorize us when they can come across us. I find it amazing how these cryptids also happen to be in these areas. Of course, a good question is why are they hiding them from us? When I say they, I do mean the high-up officials that have always known about them. I mean, think about it, places that humans don't go to very often, and if we do, it's for a short period of time, like camping or hiking. Again, most of these places have specific trails, campsites, and the sort that is for humans, with multiple good reasons to not go into some of the deep areas of these places. Example being cliffs, rough terrain, unexpected weather, steep slopes, extreme weather, hidden holes, elevation issues, and not to forget regular wildlife. When we do have an encounter with these cryptids, we have a hard time making sense out of it. Most don't tell anyone about it, and even when police or rangers are told about it, they brush it off as a bear or something we darn well know it wasn't, but we move on. Men in black SUVs in some cases come in and deal with the so-called problem. I digress. The point is, we don't live in these areas. Some may live near, but not in them. In my watchings and listening of sightings, I am finding that rangers are starting to come forward anonymously, of course, but I am seeing more of those rangers reporting their sightings, including when the men in black SUVs show up and take over. Rangers are there to protect the people, to make sure we are safe, not the forest and creatures per se. I mean, if a regular old animal bear, mountain lion, and so forth are causing a problem, then a ranger will deal with the animal. Although, I believe they aren't completely in the loop on what kind of creatures either. And on the other hand, some of those rangers do know and just try to keep humans away from them. Mostly because originally they were low in population, but as we have babies, so do the cryptids. Hence, more sightings. I also believe they are spreading. It used to be a once-in-a-lifetime of sightings, but now there are far more sightings than before. Of course, there are many variables to this, and I will give all of them in one of these videos. Now let's state that some, like the wendigo, probably don't have babies, but that's for another video. I have heard of people going to hiking spots many times, and then one day the spot is closed with some excuse of the trail is messed up. And then when it does finally open and people return, the trail looks the same as if nothing was done to it. Not to mention shutting down certain camp areas. It can make you wonder. You ever thought it might have been a cryptid in the area? It is an easy thing to do. Just close it down when a bear is in the area. Or is it a cryptid? This is why I think some of the rangers are aware of these cryptids. They are usually long-standing rangers, and the reports of these cryptids from rangers are newbies per se, which they aren't newbies, they just haven't had an encounter before. Even these newbie rangers will state that their longer around rangers seem to know that these cryptids are around and just keep quiet. I think the less that know about the cryptids, the easier it is to keep it hushed. So until a ranger has that encounter a few times, they just don't talk or tell about it. Now, we also always have a lot of missing people in these areas as well, and we either never find them or they are found with no good explanation for what happened. We have some disappearing and found many miles away, some alive, most dead. When the searchers are called out, you get weird weather anomalies, causing the trail to disappear as well. And the distance these people supposedly travel is crazy, from 10 to 30 miles away, and some being experienced hikers getting lost in areas that they have known their whole life. Yeah, right. Then you have stories like a ranger in Wyoming had a call that a husband was missing along with his 3 other friends. They were camping for a few days. The ranger went to the area they were supposed to be at, and there was no sign, but the other campers said they went further into the forest to a secluded campsite. The ranger knew that the further in there was no signal for phones and assumed that is why the husband did not call. So days went by and the wife called again and still hadn't heard from him. The same ranger was then concerned and went back out to the original campsite. The other campers were already gone, so the ranger went on to the secluded campsite. As he arrived, he knew it was not good. He was already seeing blood. The campsite was completely ravaged. He could see at least 3 of the men were completely shredded, but there was no sign of the 4th, the husband. The ranger looked around and found a blood trail and decided to follow it. When he got to a clearing, he could see a tree in the distance that had a body leaned on it. He runs over, but sadly, the husband had already died. After wondering what in the world could have done it, he spots something in the distance watching him. Backing away slowly, this creature watches him. It wasn't a bear. It was tall and walked on 2 legs and had a head of a dog or wolf. He kept walking back slowly while slowly pulling his service weapon out. It charged at him, and he fired his weapon at it. It ran off into the forest, and the ranger took his chance and made his way back to the campsite. Not wanting to leave the bodies, he pulls out his phone, only to remember that there is no service. So he decides to light a fire and get it to billow smoke to alert the other rangers that are nearby. So he realizes that he is being watched again, but this time it is acting strange, like it's not paying attention to the ranger. That's when the ranger turns, and at the last second sees a second creature, or should I say, werewolf, coming at him, flanking him from behind while the other was distracting him. He starts shooting, but quickly empties the clip. At the same time, the other rangers arrived and began shooting at the one that was distracting, now charging. It turned away and ran off into the woods. They walked over to the werewolf in shock. There is a werewolf lying on the ground. It was still alive, so they decided to finish it off. They called the cops, reported the camper's death, but that wasn't who showed up. It was the men in black SUVs. And they took their phones and the werewolf body, leaving them with just what they saw. I'm sure the wife was told her husband died by some bear or something of the sort. In this case, I believe they were rogues, and it is the first time I have heard of them working together as rogues, but also the first confirmed death of humans by a werewolf. Let's not forget that there are lots of cave systems all over the world, and especially in these parks. It would make good hiding spots at times. That's just the ones we know about. We are talking about a lot of hard-to-get-to places where there could be more cave systems. Old world stuff we have never seen possibly. But these cryptids can be using them to get around or just to hide in. A lot of elders that have lived all their life in areas near these places usually have stories about cryptids. I mean, if you ever heard of their neighbor and never seen them, or they live in a secluded area, then more than likely they are talking about a cryptid. I just listened to a sighting story about a person's grandfather who had a very large garden, and the grandchild was coming over to help with it, and the grandfather told her the watermelons were for his neighbors. They never questioned it until after their grandfather passed away and found out that the neighbors were a family of Bigfoots. The family of Bigfoots was around at the private grave of the grandfather, which was near his home in a forested area. The grandchild saw them weeping in sadness over their friend's passing, and even honored him by leaving a watermelon at his grave. A year later, the grandchild went back and found tons of watermelons growing on his gravesite. I found this sighting to be sweet. Now, I am not saying run out and invite Harry over for dinner, but they are humanly intelligent. Yes, some are not so nice, and that includes Bigfoots as well. But you have to wonder what humans have done to earn that distrust from them. It usually seems to be individual bad human experiences with Bigfoot. Or maybe, on some, it's just a protective instinct. I think with werewolves, they just avoid us for the most part. But the rogues, well, they can be vicious. They have attacked and killed humans. And when in a pack, they have territories. So when we go traipsing in on that territory, they check us out. Sometimes try to scare us away, but not hurt us. I have heard some rogues wandering in neighborhoods that seem to lie close to the woods. Most often near the woods, and like any other animal, you just have to be careful of wild animals. If it happens to be a Wendigo, well, listen in on one of my videos later as I will discuss some more of the problems with them. But until then, leave the area for a while if you can. I have also learned that there are some parks that are high dollar to go to with a lot of high up intrusion. Yes, I said intrusion. Why, you might ask? Well, the high ups do not ever do anything with good intentions for us, only to benefit themselves. I know you're probably thinking I'm a nut, and I'm okay with that, but I have never been wrong about my nuttiness yet. So if you think the high-ups is a good thing, you might want to rethink that thought. Just saying. I digress. Let's look at those wonderful campsites and how they are picked out for us in specific areas. Yes, we are allowed to go off to a more secluded area, but most don't. Just the really brave and adventurous do go to be closer to nature. Okay, so I choose a private campsite and nothing happened. No crazy encounters, so there must be no cryptids, right? Wrong. You're in a huge forest, park, and you are one teeny tiny dot in a vast area. So your chances are pretty slim. Here's a little tidbit for you. If you choose to go camping, if the area goes quiet, including insects and birds, know there is a cryptid nearby. Be aware of your surroundings. If you see it and it's just checking you out and not showing you aggression, then leave it be. Don't report it. Well, except to people like me, or even places like Donovan Dread and places of the like. If it's tall and has antlers and horrible foul smell like death, leave as soon as possible and report it. It is not a normal animal like the rest, and it is the opposite of light. Something I also noticed is we have these parks where there is no hunting unless it's a problematic animal, which usually means that it either attacked a human or kept going into human towns, which with these men in black SUVs seem to do with some of these cryptids as well. But I don't trust them either. Here is some information when you look at national parks and the sort on maps. It seems like we don't have very much land for animals, but if you look at what the high-ups own, it's quite a lot, especially on the west side of the states. I don't know, but there is a lot of good terrain for all of them, but that includes for cryptids. Parks and other places are not the only places people are seeing them. Some have seen them on roads and highways. People have even hit them with their cars by accident, of course. Most of the cryptids hit usually are fine. Apparently better healing capabilities than us. We even have farm areas that have had problems sometimes. Finding cryptids is easy and difficult all at the same time. I do believe we should know about them, but also we should leave them be as well. Unless the cryptid becomes a problem, of course. At least if we knew the truth, then we could be more prepared when we do encounter them. Of course, we can't be like we have with animals like in the past. Oh, a shark killed somebody. Let's kill as many as we can. That is just ignorant thinking. We must be better at not being overzealous on thinking we are better than every other animal on Earth. It's not a competition. There is nothing wrong with visiting the parks and so on, but have a little respect for it. It could be a cryptid's home. Everything has to be balanced on Earth between light and dark. My next one of these will be new, old, here, there, and babies, oh my. It will be about, we have some new cryptids, our usual cryptids, some named differently but are from the same family of cryptids, their movement in the cave systems, and that they are having babies. I hope you enjoy. Please check out my other videos where I give information on these cryptids and some superstitions. Also, check out my ebook, Rain's Mystical Whispers, Diving Deeper into the Werewolf Dogman. I'm your host, Rain, signing off until next time.